Welcome to TLC for the Soul podcast, where soul meets spirit. You have entered into sacred space. I'm your host, Tammy Lynn Chambers, and I'm here to help you shine. Now let's get going on this podcast journey.
To talk for just a moment before we get into the story about our special offers. I would like to offer for you to join me over on Scribed if you feel called. That is a website like Netflix, I guess, a subscription-based website like Netflix, but for audiobooks and books. And if you use the link in my show notes or in the description of this video, you get 1 month free of Scribed, and when you sign up for that free trial, I get 1 month free added on to my membership. So I really enjoy Scribed. I've been able to cancel some of my other audiobook memberships because Scribed has both the ebook form and the audiobook form of many books that you are wanting to read. So brand new titles and all your famous authors and so forth. And I have, as well now as an author, all of my books are on Scribed as well. So when you join the free trial, you can read any of my books for free too. So again, many audiobooks and ebooks there, like everything I've searched for so far, with the exception of one book, has not been available there, but I found everything else I've wanted to read. So all the Neil Gaimans are out there, and all the other authors and newer titles and so forth. So again, use the link in my show notes or video description or wherever you find this podcast for your 1 month free trial, and I hope to see you over there. Thank you so much. Take care. Hello, everyone. Hello. And welcome back to the podcast. I wanted to share a couple of things before we get going. And as always, I like us to get in our little sacred space. So just if you are maybe like me today, before I recorded this, I had a very, hectic's not a good, I don't think it was hectic. It's just I had a lot of things to accomplish that I wanted to accomplish this morning. Mondays is always kind of my get the house back in order day from the things that have happened over the weekend. And so I had a lot of things on my list to do. And now I just want to settle in to doing the podcast. So the sound's a little bit different today. We're indoors. I'm trying to kind of simulate the outdoors. You may hear some other background sounds, such as, the dog or my son in the background. And, everything that happens when we're in sacred space is part of the journey, part of the message. If you resonate with that, you don't have to, but if you resonate with that, then that's what that is. So let's just take a deep breath together. Just kind of let everything up until this moment kind of fall away. If you need to, if you're like me, what I have noticed happening is, I have all this stuff I need to do, and if I keep it up in my head, then I can't even relax through a meditation or a something like this. So you might need to, if you have a lot of stuff coming into your head, jot that down somewhere and get it out of your head. And that will leave space for you to be able to for your mental body to be able to relax, for you to get those thoughts down on paper in your journal or I use Google Keep or whatever, just electronic, so I can take that with me wherever I go. So before we get into the story, I just want to announce the winner for our Get Written Into the Story contest. There actually were a handful of entries, and I used the pendulum, and I will be upfront and say that I did put my name in because this was the first drawing, and I'm like, hey, I'm my biggest fan. I want to go ahead and enter the contest too. I want to get written into the story. So I used the pendulum to pick the winners, and we actually had 2 winners. So I won, and my soul sister, Gypsy Soul 908 on Instagram, also won. And so what Spirit has done has written us both into the story as teenage twin sisters. So we are in this next chapter as twins, Lila and Lily Amberton, just so you are aware of who these girls are. This is what Spirit has done to write them into the story. And if you're not familiar with my work, haven't listened to any of this before, read any of my books, all of my writing is, I guess, quote unquote, channeled or stream of consciousness, or some people call it automatic writing. So I don't know where these stories go. Same with all my books. Like, I don't know where they go. I just go into sacred space. I call in the people from the story, and I just go into like automatic writing or stream of consciousness, and I just let it all like flow out. So I don't plan anything ahead. I don't know how many chapters there are when Spirit's done, or when they're done giving me the story, then the story's done. I don't go back and edit any of the parts. The content does not get edited. Which is why I don't at this time work with an editor. I edit all my own content. The only thing that gets edited is grammar and punctuation, which I really wish I had some help with that. But that's a whole other story. Anyway, just so you know where this is going. So let's go ahead and, with all of that being said, get into Abigail Smile, our 3rd installment, Chapter 8. Tugboat. It wasn't every day that Lila and Lily Amberton got to go on a trip, but the twins had been gifted this November outing by their grandmother, Perla. Perla had seen an advertisement for the Argyle Inn B&B in the local newspaper when she was having her afternoon tea. She thought it the perfect gift for her young granddaughters. It will allow them to get out of the old dark mansion house and play outside with the pixies of the Scottish moors, something that Perla had loved to do as a young girl. There was the slight inconvenience of getting off the little island that the Ambertons had owned since so far back that Perla could barely recall, but the twins needed to get away. They were becoming too ensconced in the island. They needed to meet new people, and they needed to get a fresh perspective on their powers. The twins, Lila especially, who was born first and very protective of Lily, had been gifted with the sight and the knowing, not unlike the many Amberton twins that had come before them. The island seemed to have a penchant for producing twin births. Perla thought it might have something to do with the stargate that the island sat atop of, but that really seemed like an old legend now. Lila and Lily, just turned 16, had been initiated into the Amberton coven at the last Beltane fire, as was customary for the female girls of the island. But no other island family, and there were but a few, held the special magical bond that Lila and Lily had with each other. The girls had been so excited to receive the early Yule gift that they were already packing their bags. Their mother, Bella Amberton, had arranged for the tugboat from the mainland that brought their groceries and other sundries each week to take the girls to the mainland. From there, they would catch a train to the Highlands, and then a car from the inn would pick them up there. The twins had heard the inn was possibly haunted and were excited to practice with the ghosts that they expected to find there. Lila had the power of the knowing. She always seemed to know exactly what would happen right before it did. She liked to play a game with her other siblings and make them plan something that she would always intuit before they could show her or tell her what it was. And Lily, the younger by 3 minutes and 33 seconds, had the gift of the oracle. She could simply look at a person and see all the way into their soul. It was, Lily thought, both a blessing and a detriment. It made it hard for her to make friends on the island. She could see inside everyone's deepest, darkest parts, and it made her uncomfortable. So she kept her distance from the others, content to spend her days outside along the seashore or up in the old lighthouse with her fairy friends. Both girls loved the ocean and were wondering how it would feel to be away from their beloved island, even for the few days that they would stay at the Argyle. Bags packed, it was a matter of time before the tugboat would arrive to set them on the first leg of their journey. Their mother packed them a large basket lunch, and the two girls sat on the dock and shared the tea and sandwiches, ensuring that they kept some for later on that night. The car from the inn wouldn't be around to pick them up from the train station until well after dark this time of year, so the girls had packed small flashlights and warmer clothes, not knowing what to expect with the weather. All they knew about the moors were the fog and the pixies, and they were excited to experience both. The dead they expected to connect with along with any other wayward spirits was an added bonus. Tickets safe in their pockets, the girls enjoyed their lunch as the big green tugboat chugged towards the island. "Well, this is it, Lily," Lila said. "Are you ready?" The younger girl nodded her head and said yes, in her mind, hoping the other girl would hear her this time. She preferred mental telepathy over human words, but no one else had seemed to catch on to it yet. Well, that was, except for Lily, I get Lily and Lila mixed up, was except for Lily's imaginary friend Bartholomew, because he always heard her. Lila looked questioningly at Lily. "Well, are you?" she asked. She thought she had heard a response in her mind, but often Lila didn't trust what she thought she heard. It was an old dark wound, and it kept her feeling small inside. But inside didn't translate to outside, and so Lila had taken on the role of caretaker, so to speak, ensuring that the two girls were always in sync with each other. Lily's stamina was not the best. She tired easily, and often hearing the voices of so many souls who needed help made her feel like she was taking on too much. So she stayed silently in the shadows of her older sister. The tugboat pulled up to the dock just as the girls finished their sandwiches. They stood gathering their things for the trip. Excitement was the energy that surrounded them as they kissed Perla and Bella goodbye, promising to call as soon as they arrived at the inn. The tugboat pulled away slowly from the island, and Perla Amberton felt a slight twinge in her heart space. Those two were going to come back from this journey as women, she thought, seeing already the thing that would change them forever on the periphery, looking in. So 2 things just quickly to say there is, when we left off before in chapter 7, we left like Dakkar and Maggie, after they had gone down to Blue Pond Lake together, and Dakkar had gone through that whole like, "I love you, Maggie," and I was like, what is he talking about? "I love you, Maggie." And then somehow Spirit was like, okay, I have to bring Lily and Lila in, and we were just kind of left with what is going on with Dakkar and Maggie. So now we get to drop back in to chapter 9, The Forest. Dakkar could not bring himself to go back to the house with Maggie. He thought he could have taken her inside and back to her room, but he had something better in mind. If she wanted him to go into the forest so badly, then he certainly needed to see what was awaiting him there. He carried Maggie as far as the edge of the woods, and then laid her down under a large tree. He covered her with his coat and set foot into the dark woods. He'd lost his wand, which he would normally use for warmth, so instead he called in Lancelot, the fire-breather, to help keep him warm. Let's face it, the woods could be a cold, lonely place, even in the daytime, for a lone traveler. But Dakkar had heard stories from the bringers of the light about this particular forest, and he knew that it didn't matter what time he ventured inside its twisted, gnarled trunks, there would be something most sinister awaiting him there. He stepped lightly over pine needles and fallen branches, using Lancelot's fire to light his way. The dragon was definitely a useful ally. Even if Dakkar had won him in a jousting contest, he really could have beaten Count Mashar at the sword if it had come to it. But no thinking about the past. He was here now with no woman, no weapon, and no idea what would happen next. And then he heard something, coming from what appeared to be a clearing in the woods. He moved closer, hiding himself behind a mulberry bush. It sounded like crunching, and not the kind of nice crunching you might get with something like fish and chips. No, this sounded like bones being crushed. Dakkar decided that he had to see what was making the sound, even if it cost him his life. He had pledged an oath to the bringers of the light, and he knew what it meant to foil dark forces. He only wished he'd had more help. Maggie had definitely surprised him with her strength and magic. It was more than he was expecting, and then she had tried to bring him in here. But for what? He moved closer. And then he saw it. A large taloned creature eating what appeared to be a large cat of some sort. Maybe a bobcat, Dakkar thought. The taloned beast tore at the creature and then stopped. It sniffed the air and then looked around, dropping its prey to the cold ground. Dakkar had extinguished Lancelot's fire, and now the two, dragon and warlock, stood poised at the edge of what appeared to be some sort of sacrificial space. But who and why? What is this place? Dakkar could only imagine what would have happened to him here if Maggie had succeeded. But why would she bring him here? She clearly wanted him for something else. Too many questions and no answers. And then he heard it coming up behind him. A twig cracked, and he took his chance. Reaching out behind him into the backside of the dragon, Dakkar lunged out at what appeared to be Maggie stalking them. But what he thought was Maggie was clearly not all there was to it. The sound came again, and then Maggie's voice cutting through the darkness. "Come out, Dakkar, or I will kill the girl," Maggie said, shoving Abigail forward in front of him. Abigail was like a zombie, completely under Maggie's spell, and unable to speak or move without direction. "You want me so badly," Maggie said, curling her hair around her finger. "Well, then show me, Dakkar," she said, laughing with a fierce and deep-throated glee. "Feed the girl to the creature, now!" Dakkar could only stand in stupefied silence. How had he been so foolish? He had allowed his enemy to get the upper hand. "And don't think I'll fall for your love tricks again," Maggie said, lighting her wand around her heart space. "I am well protected." Dakkar needed a small miracle to get out of this one. He considered and figured there was only one option. He reached forward, grabbing Abigail around the waist. He kissed her deeply on the lips, and then he threw her into the creature's taloned embrace. Chapter 10. Train Station. The 10 o'clock arrived several minutes early, and Lily and Lila disembarked and waited for their bags to be delivered by the porter. The car was supposed to be here for them at 10:30, and while they waited, they could snack on the leftover sandwiches, Lila thought, pulling Lily by the coat over to a bench by the station house. She unpacked what was left of their lunch and handed Lily a sandwich. "Something funny is going on at that place," Lily said, taking a ham sandwich while staring out into space. "You always think something funny's going on," Lila said, handing the other girl a paper napkin. "Now don't drop that," she said. "The fairies are still mad at me for the last time I left trash behind. I don't want to work up any more karma with them." Lily took a small bite from her sandwich while simultaneously grimacing at her sister. 3 minutes and 33 seconds was what stood between their identicalness, and Lily was sure that if they had been exactly the same, she would not have liked that one bit. She wanted to be just like herself, which was nobody else. As the girls ate their supper, Dwight pulled his wool cap and sweater from the coat rack. He got the car keys from the key cabinet and tucked a small tart into his pocket. He would need his strength and mental stamina for driving through the moors in the dark. "Just because you were in a car didn't mean the spirits of the moors couldn't mess with you," Dwight thought, recalling that story of the wayward taxi from several years ago. No one, including the driver, was around to talk about what happened there. Only a badly wrecked taxi with animal fur and bloody prints was all that was left of that lot. No well-meaning pixies had stuck around to help out on that one, he thought, grabbing the large flashlight off the charger. Why Millie had told those kids' mother that the inn was some sort of taxi service was beyond him, and then to assign him to the task was another. She knew he didn't like the moors at night. As Lila ate her sandwich in small, manageable bites, her mind drifted back to Harp. He had wanted her to spend the weekend with him. His parents were on a trip to the mainland, and they would have the seaside bungalow to themselves. She could have easily slipped out for the night without being noticed. But then this gift of the trip, and her grandma and mom had been so excited to get them off the island. At least she saw it that way. As much as she wanted to explore and have fun with Lily at a haunted inn, she had really wanted to explore more with Harp. He was so kind to her, and his parents had money. 16 or not, she could see herself running away with him if he had asked her. But she might not know now. The whole weekend would be gone by the time her and Lily made it home. Who knows what Hart might be up to without her? She often saw him watching that other girl in her class, Marjorie. What did Marjorie have that she didn't? If she got the chance again, she would definitely tell Harp how she felt. Dwight revved the engine of the old 4x4 and placed the high beams on. He turned up the radio loud and drove way over the speed limit through the darkened parts of the moors. Better to be caught by the law than to be eaten by a night creature. Of course, night creatures had never been actually confirmed to exist out there, but Dwight knew better, and he had lived to tell about it. Lily felt a strange twinge in her heart space. She needed to clear her energy more often now, at least while that vamp Vladimir von Richtenstein was around. Duke Vladimir of County Cork had visited the island on a field trip with his junior class. They were looking for the lost merfolk of Melanchthon, an old legend that still drew folks to the islands. Lily had been minding her own business at the fruit stand and could feel his gaze on her. It burned. And then he had purposely left his school group to come over and introduce himself to her. He thought he was so cool, she recalled, and she remembered how she didn't feel well afterwards. She had been so glad to see the tugboat take that school group and Duke Vladimir away. He had continued to tap into her energy for weeks afterwards, even trying to fly into her room one night in the astrals just to look at her and soak up some more of her precious energy. Lily may have been only 16, but she had seen her share of spiritual warfare, and she was sick of it. Of all the ones that she had wanted, she instead got vamped by Duke Vlad. It had taken a spell from the gypsy caravan lady to break his hold on her, and she vowed she would not let that connection happen again. Say hello once to a vamp, and you might never get out with your soul intact. The clock struck 10:30, and both girls disposed of their trash in the proper receptacle, and looked towards the entrance for the van that was supposed to pick them up. "Nothing yet," Lila said, more to herself than anything. "He's had an accident," Lily said, taking her bag and heading into the terminal house. "I think we might be here for a while longer." So that is where I'm going to stop. It's a little bit shorter this time. But I have a feeling that this week we'll be wrapping up this story probably in the next 7 chapters or so, 6 or 7 chapters. I do sometimes get a general feeling of how much more there is to do. But sometimes they like to play games with me and make me think that there's a lot left to do, and then I'll sit down and there's only a few more chapters left. So I just kind of leave it up to them where this is going. So I know that in the States, at least, this is a holiday week. If you're listening to it when it loads up, I'm recording this during the week of Thanksgiving on whatever day this is, Monday the 23rd. So if you listened to this before holiday week, I just wish you all I don't even want to call it Thanksgiving. It's gratitude. I just call it Gratitude Day. I don't even know if I will continue to celebrate that moving forward. It's not a big deal, with my family, nobody really. Some of my extended family do get together to celebrate it, but really, close family, not really so much so. So I told you my favorite is Samhain, and then I guess Christmas after that, just for the joy spirit. That's I've already jumped forward to Christmas, and I've put up my tree and everything now. So just hope you enjoy the story, and I do want to invite you, if you do want to get the pages before they're posted as the audiobook, you can go to my Instagram at TLC Books and just follow me there, and I try to upload the pages as I write them, and I try to write a page a day, but if something else is going on, or if there's not that many chapters in the month, then Spirit might not have me write every single day, and then I'll work on another project instead. So I wish you all a blessed rest of your week, and the next time we meet, we will be meeting for the final chapters of Turkey Pot high. And then we'll already be in December, and we'll already have to be thinking about what Dakkar and Abigail, hopefully Abigail's still alive as she's thrown into the creature's talent embrace. But we'll see what adventures await Abigail and Dakkar for December. So thank you everyone so much for listening. Take care. We'll see you again next time. And now a word from our sponsor. This episode has been brought to you by the Pixies of the Scottish Moors, inviting you to step out and enjoy the sounds, the feel, and the wonders of nature. Meet them outside the Argyle Inn B&B at Blue Pond Lake, or follow them as they dance through the moors each and every night, just waiting for visitors to join them and have fun in that sacred space. So thank you for joining us. We will see you again next time. Take care.